What's up, guys? In today's video, we're gonna be going over all of higher computing. Higher computing. This is computing. A 2's complement number is a type of binary that can be used to represent both positive and negative numbers. It was created by John Complement in 1963. According to John, it can be calculated using 3 simple steps. In this example, we'll use the number -29. First, we need to find the positive representation of 29 in binary. This would be 0001101. Step 2. Inverse the numbers so that all the zeros become 1s and the 1s become zeros. In this example, 0001101 becomes 1110010. Step 3. Add 1 to your final answer. So 1110010 becomes 111000011. The range. Invented by John Range. The range is the values that a binary system can represent and is determined by the number of bits that it has. This can be seen in the formula -2 to the n to the power of n minus 1 to 2 to the n minus 1 minus 1. For example, if we're using 8 bits, then the formula shows that the range is -2 to the 7 to 2 to the 7 minus 1.
Floating point representation. For example, -0.111. It has a sign bit, a mantissa, and an exponent. In this example, it has 16 bits, including the sign bit. Because it's negative, the sign bit needs to be 1. Usually, however, we want the number to change position so that it's equal to so that it represents 0.1. So that it resembles 0.1. If the decimal point moves to the left, then we get a negative exponent. But if it moves to the right, then we get a positive one. But in this example, it didn't move. So we just get zeros. Oh no, the video is still going, but I've ran out of things to say.
Agile versus iterative methodology. Iterative. The iterative methodology is rigorously documented after each stage. Agile. Little to no documentation is performed during the agile methodology. Changes can be made between each stage in the iterative methodology. However, each stage is usually planned in advance. The agile methodology is highly adaptable to allowing many changes to be made during each sprint. The client and developer communication does not occur much during the iterative methodology. Client and developer communication is a huge part of the agile methodology, and so occurs frequently. Evaluation takes place at the end after testing in iterative. Evaluation is an ongoing process for development in Agile.
Range versus accuracy. The range can be increased by increasing the number of bits. The number of bits allocated to the exponent. Accuracy can be increased by increasing the number of bits allocated to the mantissa.
Each standard algorithm will now be shown sequentially. function analysis. The purpose describes the reason for creating new software. This includes end user requirements. The scope of a project includes a list of what will be delivered to the client or the end user at the conclusion of the project. Boundaries versus functional requirements. Boundaries. This provides a list of what will and will not be included in the project. Functional requirements. This defines the what the project should be able to do in terms of processes, inputs, and outputs. Data flow. Data flow identifies the data being passed in and out of the main algorithm processes. This is mainly used for modules, procedure/functions. Refinements using structure diagrams. In the higher computing science exam, one may be asked to rewrite a line in the program using data from a structure diagram. Structure diagrams look like this.
User interface. The user interface is the part of the program that the user sees. This includes instructions given to the user, inputs, keyboard inputs or mouse inputs, and outputs.
Parallel arrays. Parallel arrays are two or more arrays that hold related data within the same index value. For example, in 1919, John Array made 3 arrays to trap his rivals' first names, last names, and ages forever! Records! A record is a data structure that holds multiple data items about one entity. Each field in a record may store different data types. This is seen in the following code. Class, record, name, stir equals, quote, quote, age, dot, dot, int equals 0. Individual fields of records are accessed using dot notation. For example, if record.name greater than 25, print record.age.
Array of records. An array of records stores a single record within each element of an array. Stores single records within each element of an array. For example, an index of 0 may represent John Balls, 42. This is created using the following syntax. My record equals records for x in range 40, which will create an array of 40 records. These are accessed using the following. If my record counter.name equals John, print my record counter.age. Procedures versus functions, folks. A procedure is a block of code that performs tasks or calculations. This is created using the following code, folks. Def balls parameter, total equals parameter plus 1. Functions. A function is a block of code that performs calculations, folks, and returns a single value. This is created using the following code, folks. Def balls parameter, total equals parameter plus 1. Return total, folks.
Actual versus formal parameters. Actual parameters are seen in the calling of the function. For example, help me equals balls 2, which would output 3, and 2 is the parameter. Formal parameters are seen in the module itself. For example, def balls parameter. Here the parameter is parameter.
Local versus global variables. Local variables exist within a module. An advantage of this is that large programs may use the same variable name multiple times because local variables are recognized within its module. Global variables exist within the main program.
Files. In the exam you will be asked to read from file. This is done using following syntax. You may also be asked to write into a file. This is done using following syntax.
Testing.
John Testing invented 4 main ways to test a program. These include dry runs. A dry run is a form of testing that involves reading the program code and mentally walking through it. The tester must predict what the code will produce and fix the errors before execution. Trace tables. A trace table lists the program's variables and tracks the values as the code is executed. Breakpoints. A breakpoint forces executing code to pause at points defined by the programmer, allowing current values of variables to be examined. Watch point. A watch point stops the program executing when the condition is met or when a variable changes value. Both breakpoints and watch points can compare expected values against actual values. Evaluation. Fitness for purpose. At the analysis stage, the functional requirements are identified. A program is fit for purpose if it meets each requirement. Efficiency. The solution should meet the requirements without unnecessary lines of code. Repetitions of code. Modules could be used instead, and variables and data structures. Usability. This tests the clarity of instructions given to the user. For example, error messages. When something goes wrong. An invalid input, for example. And a formatted output. Messages and labels for explanation, for example. Maintainability. A maintainable program includes comments, white space, and modules, local variables, and formal parameters. Robustness. A program is robust if it runs without crashing. This is done by anticipating potential errors. For example, using input validation.
ASCII versus Unicode. Invented by John Confused. Extended ASCII is an 8-bit code used to store 256 different characters. It is limited to control characters, numbers, the English alphabet, and a selection of characters from other languages.
The Unicode is a mythical beast that was nearly captured by John Confused in 1987. However, it is a 16-bit code that can store 65536 characters. These include different alphabets, symbols, and even emojis. Vectors versus bitmap graphics. A bitmap graphic is composed of rows and columns of pixels. A vector graphic is created from shapes. A bitmap graphic edits pixels. In most circumstances, a vector graphic takes up less storage than a bitmap graphic. Pixels cannot be layered in front of one another in a bitmap graphic. A vector graphic edits entire shapes, and a shape within a vector graphic can be layered on top of another. Increasing the size of a bitmap graphic may lower its resolution. Increasing the size of a vector graphic does not change its resolution. The fetch execute cycle. Here's the address. I'm the processor. Sure thing, boss. Hey, readline, I'm activating you.
Well, okay then.
Data bus from memory to processor.
Instruction register.
On the decoder, I'm interpreting.
It's executing time.
Environmental impact. Heating systems. Intelligent heating systems use temperature information from sensors to control the heat of rooms by switching heaters on or off. Traffic control. Modern satellite navigation, invented by
John Satellite!
can warn the driver of potential congestion and suggest alternative routes. Car management systems. Start-stop systems switch off the car engine automatically. When the car is stationary for an extended period of time, this reduces carbon emissions.
Security risks and precautions. The Computer Misuse Act in 1990
John Parliament!
invented a law which is used to prosecute people who do the following: gain unauthorized access to computer material, gain access to it with the intent to commit further offense, modify data without authorization. Tracking cookies. Tracking cookies are small, plain text files that are stored within your browser when you access a website. They may store the following data: login details, session details, and browsing behavior. DOS attacks. These prevent access to computer systems or networks by flooding the system with meaningless requests. Attacks may involve bandwidth consumption, overloading of the bandwidth or the network connection, resource starvation, causing many processes to run simultaneously. DNS attack, hampering access to a DNS, the system responsible for converting web addresses requests into IP addresses. Required to direct your internal connection to requested websites. This attack may result in loss in revenue or unexpected costs to recover from the attack.
Encryption! Encryption is used to hide data from unauthorized individuals. Pairs of encryption keys, public and private, are used to scramble data. Public keys are accessed by everyone and scrambles data. Private keys are only accessible to the receiver of the data, and it is used to unscramble or decrypt data.